Okay, I want to talk about two, if I can remember. Oh, yeah, just a few characters that I want in Marvel Rivals and how I would make them. Spoiler, these might be DPS. I don't know. They probably would either be too broken or way underpowered, the way I described them, just because I'm not a game developer. I don't really know shit like this. I just think they'd be cool, and, well, how would you bring them in? Well, I think these would be cool ways to do it. First off, because I think he's the easiest to describe, War Machine. Put War Machine as a tank. Because in the comics, sometimes in the comics he is shown, and sometimes I'm using very loosely, he is shown to be bulkier than Iron Man. So give him a bulkier, or like make it Ironmonger from the enemy from the first Iron Man film. Give him a bulkier suit design like that. One shoulder mount, and then like two wrist machine guns. His primary would be the wrist machine guns, but the spread would be crazy. You have to be like point blank to do any reasonable damage outside of keeping people at bay with those. And then his shoulder mount would be his right click, and it's kind of like a Magneto. Less damage than Magneto's, but it has a little bit of an AoE to it, and it gets like 3 shots before it needs to reload. For his shift, give him like a dash, where it's a short dash away like Ultron's, and then he gets free flight for a few seconds, and then he drops to the ground because like you have to go, oh, the thrusters need to recharge or something like that because the suit's so heavy. I think that's a really cool way to put like an Iron Man-esque character as a tank. I know I just had that whole spiel that probably got posted before this about how you need to increase the we need to stop asking for duplicate characters, but I think War Machine could genuinely be a tank and not feel like he is just an Iron Man clone. I don't know what to do for his other abilities. I want him to have some sort of like hollow shield or whatever, but not like a hold it in front of him shield, like a dome that he places down. I think that'd be cool. I don't know. The only abilities I really have are like primary machine guns on his wrist, the cannon, and then this would either be really balanced or really not balanced. And I want his ult to be like a bombing squad. Like the US military bombs, and like he places it out in the distance, and they come towards him. So it's boom, 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 boom in sections. So like 3 to 5 sections, boom, 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 boom. And I feel like even if it doesn't do the greatest, like even if that does too much damage, it has a lot of team play because you either have to move towards him, you either have to push super aggressively so that way you don't die to it, or you have to fall back and time it so that way you fall back and don't take any damage. You fall between the bursts. I think that has some cool team play. I don't know, I'm not a game developer. I think he'd be cool in the game. Next up, I have Sandman. I think Sandman would also make a very good tank. What I'm going to say sounds insane, but hear me out. I want him to be able to make walls. Give him like 1,500 health. First off, and I'm going somewhere with this, trust. And then he expends his actual health bar. So you know how Mr. Fantastic's health grows? The actual bar grows now. The same thing but in reverse. So he places a wall and it takes from his actual health. And so he can keep placing things off cooldown, but it takes from his own health bar, and he'll have to have some sort of move or some sort of passive that allows him to slowly regain the sand by standing where it used to be. And I think that'd be really cool gameplay wise. And then maybe his ult has something to do with, oh, the sand piles explode and or they come back to him all at once and it pulls enemies in on their way in, pulls them in and slows them or something. I think he could have really cool versatility if you do something like that. And honestly, Sandman could be anything because of how versatile he is. I mean, he's sand. If you can imagine sand doing it, he can do it. Scorpion. I think Scorpion would be really cool because, I don't know, I just think he'd be cool. Instead of an anti-heal effect, give him a poison effect, some sort of poison stack that he can add. So it doesn't necessarily give you anti-heal, but if it's doing if it does like 15 damage per second, you are automatically getting healed for 15 damage per second less. And I think he'd be cool, whether as a tank or as a DPS. I just think he'd be a cool addition to the game, because I just think poison mechanics are fun. Wow. Actually, considering my experience in Marvel Rivals and the other videos I've made, he wouldn't be fun to play against sometimes, but I do think Scorpion is a cool character. I like Spider-Man characters. We've been over this. So, I don't know. He's one of the people I want. And then I want Mysterio as a support. I want Mysterio as a support, and what I want Mysterio to do is a lot with smokes. Like, he places smoke, and his smoke heals. And your team can kinda see through it. It does obscure their vision, and that's the downside of being healed while not being able to be seen very well. But I think this is really cool because it makes Punisher useful. If they're playing Mysterio, you play Punisher, because Punisher's passive allows him to see through smoke. And that's only useful if you shoot the smoke on the enemy team, but nobody ever really shoots the smoke on an enemy team. You just kind of use it to escape places or as movement. And so I think it's kind of underused, but I think that passive is such a cool one if you add Mysterio. I think Mysterio should have very little damage, just enough to scare off divers. Like Psylocke, if you hit him... What I want for his primary, let's start there. I want him to have 6 shots, and every third shot, not every third shot that lands on the same target, but every third shot in general has a little drone that goes out and hits them. And what's really cool about this is whenever I say drone, you can make the drones look like whatever you want, because it's Mysterio, and typically his drones don't look like drones. He makes them look like bats or demons or something, because he likes to be cool and edgy and play with illusions. And I think that's really cool. Don't let him copy people like Loki, because that would be overdone. Like, let him place smokes around, and then as sort of like his ult should place his healing smoke on the floor of a certain area, and it heals for a bit. Not like a Luna ult or an Invis ult kind of healing, but the offside is but the best part is all of the characters on the field look like Mysterio, and so you cannot tell who you're shooting at. And I think that's where the utility of the ult comes from, because I think that'd be cool too. I think a character that plays with smoke, plays with healing, like all of his healing would come from his smokes, his ability cooldowns, but I think it'd be really cool. He'd be really cool, but he would probably just reinforce triple support meta, and that would be bad. So, I don't know. I just think the design-wise, that would be cool. And then I want the Tinkerer. Hear me out. The Tinkerer is one of the most underused Spider-Man rogues. People in Spider-Man's rogue gallery, I guess is how I'm going to put that. Because he kind of just doesn't do anything. In his first appearance, he was an alien. And he made things to intercept information, and then Spider-Man beat him, and then the aliens fought him, and then Spider-Man won, and they flew away in their UFO. But outside of that, he just kind of tinkers with stuff. He just kind of makes gadgets. And so he's not really used a lot, because he is kind of boring. But I think he would be cool in Marvel Rivals. Give him a gun. Make it the Bruce Banner gun. Make it from like 4 different modes. Give it like attack, speed, healing, and defense. Right? And give it those 4 different modes. Attack, if you shoot your teammates, it boosts their attack for a certain amount of time. Defense, speed, boosts speed. Attack, speed. Healing, it boosts their healing. Boost healing. This one, this was defense. It increases their defense. Reduces damage taken for a certain amount of time. Getting consecutive hits with them would not stack the effect. It would just reset the duration. That would be really cool, because it would allow him to boost his teammates while also healing them. And it wouldn't be super strong healing, because you would play him in triple support comp, but not for his healing, instead for his util, his ability to buff his entire team, and what this gun is about, what I'm about to say, what the gun does, debuff the enemy team. The attack buff, if you hit an enemy, lowers their attack. The speed buff, if you hit an enemy, slows them down. If you hit a... The healing one would probably just do damage, because I don't want it to apply anti-heal, because that would be way too easy to apply anti-heal to enemies. The defense one makes them vulnerable. They take more damage. These would all be lower numbers than almost every other character in the game, like percentage-wise, because it would be so easy to apply, but you would have them for pretty much the entire game. And that is good. Make the gun pierce through 2 allies max. Like, it will stop on the second ally. That way it's easier. You don't have to, like, point at every single one. Though they might have to nerf that if he becomes too strong. But I think since the numbers are so low, you can oblige it. But it won't oblige that. But it will never pierce through enemies. So that way, if you want to hit the backline, you actually have to try to hit the backline. And then the only other thing I have in my brain for this character is give him little drones. These drones don't shoot. They sit on the ground and they let out bursts that do the same thing as healing gun does. You can have 2 at once, and like every 5 seconds, they let out a burst that does one of the effects for 3 seconds. So you'll have healing over time for 3 seconds, and then you have to wait 2 seconds until the next burst comes out, and then you have increased damage for 3 seconds. These bursts would all be higher than his gun, but not stack with his gun. They would override his. Well, never mind. If his gun and the drones do it, that would be bad, because then they either stack or they don't, and if they don't stack, what's the point? I don't know. Maybe you scrap the gun and you just do the drones. Maybe you scrap the drones and you just do the gun. I don't know. I just think these are cool. It's cool to have a support that isn't just a healer, but it's also not just a DPSified. Because I think the game has a problem where a lot of the characters are being DPSified. Like our last 2 tanks, Emma and Angela. They're kind of DPS characters. Our last couple of supports are also DPS, or they can choose to take the role of a DPS. I would like a support that just boosts her team, provides utility to the team, and boosts them. Kind of like how Storm is a pseudo-strategist that buffs her team just by being around them. Something like that. But the reason why you would be able to have 2 of these out is because they would cycle through the different effects. So that way you would have attack, then damage reduction, but you could never have 2 at once unless you place one out, wait like 3 seconds, then place the next one, so that way they're on different pings, and that way you get it. But the healing's not super much. You do it for all the buffs, and you play like him and Penny, and you're all in the webs, and you're getting different buffs, but you can break free because those turrets wouldn't have a lot of health. Iron Man would still counter it because he can see them from around the walls, and then it forces you to get off and play hit scan poke until now you can't play that mode. I think it allows some good counterplay. I am obviously seeing flaws in it now, but I don't know. I think a support that doesn't just heal and doesn't DPS would be cool. They just provide util. I think that's how 3 supports meta should be played, but I don't know. Let me know what you think, what characters you want, and how you would tweak my characters. Well, they're not my characters, but the characters I want, because I understand some of them are kind of broken, some of them kind of don't do anything. But tell me how you tweak them. Tell me what characters you want, or how you'd make your own characters in this game. Wet Willy! Oh, subscribe.